and 2 boys. And those 7 women became known to me, including my mother, the aunts. And the aunts were my role models. They were the mothers to my best friends. They lived nearby, and they were beer swilling, opinionated, bossy, kind-hearted, generous, thoughtful, beautiful women. They were my role models. And if you knew me, you'd say, well, that's who you are now. But anyway, but their mother passed away, and I was fearful of going home. I had never been away from my daughter. My daughter Cecilia, my beautiful daughter Cecilia, was 6 years old at the time. And I had never been away from her overnight, let alone 5 or 6 days. And I said, and I felt selfish having that, knowing that my mom's mother had died. Now, at my home where I grew up, that was the center for all the family parties. And they would have them every 2-3 weeks, once a month. And there would be 20, 30, 40 people in our home while my mom cooked. My brother, my father, my cousin Loretta, and I sitting in the dining room near the piano, playing guitars and banjos and piano and conducting a sing-along. There would be people all over the house having arguments or discussions or loving, kind. It was intimidating and yet incredibly inviting. And I knew that was what my grandmother's funeral was going to be like. Excuse me, I got beginnings of a cold here. So anyway, I just said, you know what? I got to go home. I got to put all this stuff aside. I got to stop being worried, and I got to go home. So I got my ticket, and I got my ticket, got ready for the next day. Was thinking about having never been away from my daughter overnight, let alone 5 or 6 days. I was worried, but I said, you know what? I'm putting it aside, and I'm going to go. And in the morning, it was a beautiful day in May, just a beautiful day. I called a cab rather than go to the airport and have the 10,000 goodbyes and the tears and all the stuff that I thought I would probably go through. And Cecilia's father and I were out in the front yard walking around and chit-chatting, and a gaggle of geese flew over. There were 5 of them. And 5 geese isn't unusual, but at the same time, it's not always the norm because geese usually travel in pairs. And I looked up, and Cecilia said to me, Mommy, look, the geese are going to fly with you to Minnesota. They're going with you to Minnesota. And I said, oh, sure, of course they are. And just at that moment, the cab came around the corner, and in my best patronizing mommy voice, I said, wow, and look there's the cab right on time to go with the geese. Well, she was so excited. She believed the geese were going to go with me to Minnesota. So I got in the cab, kissed everybody goodbye, got in the cab, got to the airport, got on the airplane, drove everybody nuts with my inability to shut my mouth. I can't be quiet ever. I have to talk to everybody. And if you knew me, you know. So, and that's sort of a northern Minnesota thing too. You can't go to a grocery store without somebody wanting to talk to you. But anyway, so I got in the airplane, got to Minneapolis, got out of the plane, rented a car, and got ready to drive 190 miles north to my hometown of Grand Rapids. And while I was there in the car, back in '96, old cell phones, my mother called me, and I could tell she was upset. I could tell she was worried. I knew that she was cooking and cleaning and taking care of everybody. And while she didn't say she was upset, excuse me, I'm sorry. Water. Oh, thank you. Thank you. She said, wanted to know when I was going to get there. And I said, well, it's going to be a couple hours, and so she was anticipating me getting there. Now, to go to my hometown, there is a literal fork in the road. There's 2 ways to go. You can drive straight through town, cross the Mississippi River, out of town, about a mile up the road to my parents' house. Or you can take the left fork in the road and you can go by the river, and you can go to the Isaac Walton Park, which is right on the river, which is where I spent half of my childhood, fishing, having campfires, stealing beer from our parents and going down there. This is where, and usually when I would go home, I would stop on the river and go put my hands in the water just to connect up a little bit for a minute before I would go home, But I decided that since my mom's phone call, I said, you know what, I gotta get there right away. I can't do this. But I got to that fork in the road and I felt a tug. And I said, you know what, 5 minutes isn't gonna make any darn difference. So I took the left fork in the road and I took the back way to the Isaac Walton Park. I got to the Isaac Walton Park, I pulled in, I walked out of the car, got down, and I put my hands in the river, in the water, and connected up with whatever it was that kept me grounded as a kid. And I heard some geese flying. And I looked up, and a small gaggle of geese landed in front of me. 5. 5 geese landed out there. I stood up, and I must have counted them 100 times. I couldn't believe it. And they just sat there looking at me as if to say, I told you so. Cecilia was right. The geese came with me. My grandmother's funeral was everything I anticipated it to be. It was uncomfortable, it was sad, it was beautiful, it was full of there was sing-alongs, my aunts were sad and joyful all at the same time. But it was okay, because I had received a hug from my grandma. I had received a hug from the universe, from God. I have always looked for road signs in my life, and I have always received them. I have been so fortunate in that respect. And they have never said, it's never stopped me from falling, it's never stopped me from making mistakes, but they just show up and say, get up, Gail, you are loved. Here's my song. It's a little song about Minnesota.
There you go.
Actually, I do need a drink. Okay, anyway. There is an ocean in Minnesota. I'm sorry. I'm nervous. I gotta do this again. Woo! There is an ocean in Minnesota. 10,000 lakes make up a sea, and there are boats and lots of bars. Seems like the ocean to me. There is a river in Minnesota that runs from there to the shining sea. I spent my childhood on the Mississippi. Feels like home to me. Put my hands on the river shore. I hear my memories. I sense the love of the ones that knew what for. Their love speaks to me. I feel the lives of those that